Yo, what's good? Everyday Superpower signing in. Place where we learn about body language, non-verbal communication, verbal communication, and everything in between, right? So, my question today is, have they annoyed you? Have they irritated you? Have they gotten on your nerves? Right? Take a breather. Take a moment. Observe, assess, understand why they've done it and what they're trying to do, if anything, if they are intentionally doing it. And take a breather. You don't have to respond. You can pocket that tinge of anger or sadness or whatever it's triggered in you. You can take that and put it in your pocket and save that for when the conversation and the communication is over and done with. It's not worth reacting to that which they may have intentionally tried to do, and maybe outside of their conscious awareness they have attempted to do so. Subconsciously they may have a particular means of dancing with people like you, if you know where I'm coming from. So if somebody knows how to hit you where it hurts, and they make a bold statement or attack you verbally in such manner, you have to understand you fall into their hands, into their trap, by responding in a manner as to which they expected. Especially if it's especially if it's a man. Women are notorious at this, especially in relationships. They will know how to hurt you, and of course, because they can't do it physically, they will be sharp with words, or they will make indirect comments in regards to that which you find hurtful. So isn't it incredibly powerful to be able to stand stoic and to understand what they've done? And the best part about it is you can observe their reaction and response. Not only have you assessed and seen what they had tried to do, but now you can await the response, which will manifest itself through their words and through their non-verbal communications after the statement or the attempt on your quality of life has been made. When they realise the arrow has bounced off of you, you are not responding to it in the manner as to which they thought they were. You are getting on with life. Not only do you look strong, but they look weak and they feel weak. And in their heads, they're thinking to themselves, did they catch on to what I just tried to do? You could smile in response, allowing them to know and acknowledge that what they've done has been noted, but it's nothing serious to you. Or you can just disallow it completely and just see how they awkwardly stumble and blabber themselves into a position of feeling comfortable once again in your presence. When it comes to your partner and so forth, and something's said that's wound you up, now this might be outside of, intention. You genuinely just might have, had a little bit of a dispute over something and unintentionally hurt each other's feelings to a point where it's escalated to this. It makes no sense for you to react in emotion and anger and, create a bad space for your relationship to grow. You don't want to exist in that space with somebody you love, right? Because love and hate are polarizing, and you want to exist in the positive, blooming, growthful lands of love. For your quality of life, it comes down to that once again, doesn't it? But when one tries to hurt your feelings intentionally and you don't react emotionally, if anything, you clock on to what's been done and you clock on to how you feel. You remain in a logical and rational space, and in doing so, you can then redirect that internalized attention outwards. If anything, it's like a 3-step process, so you hear what they have to say, and that's you in their skin. You assess and understand and view them as a person and why they've done so. Then you bounce into yourself to assess how you feel and how you're going to react. And then you bounce back into their skin to see how they feel now that you haven't responded, and go from there. And the worst thing that can happen is a good thing. Like, the worst thing that can happen is they see that it's not affected you, and they believe that you haven't caught on to it. So at the very most, they might, well, if they decide to prod you again in the same sort of manner, it would be quite inappropriate of them. I feel like it's a pushing of the boundaries to some extent. You get some sociopathic individuals, some horrible people who like to play games. And I speak on men in particular because I've known a lot of nasty men in my time as of so far. And these examples are all based off of real life, life experience I have had and how I found things work. So when I was younger, I wasn't so controlled and reserved. I would be reactionary, especially in an emotional plane. To respond in anger wouldn't be an issue for me as a defense mechanism. All right, so take that as you will. But the problem being, it put me in a position as to where, people learn a lesson and you set a standard and a set a boundary, but I didn't feel good for it because I was in a supercharged emotional space and I was very volatile in doing so. I couldn't go around life reacting in such a manner. It still does exist within me, of course, because that was me, but I've learned to pay attention, assess and feel that. And on autopilot, I know at this point that I can appropriately handle that feeling and that emotion and allow it to sit back. In anger management, they tell you to count to 10 or do whatever nonsense when you feel angry and so forth. It doesn't work like that. Don't work like that. I mean, that's redirecting that attention. You could direct your attention to the other person, and in doing so, you leave yourself. And in leaving yourself and trying to understand and assess what the other person's message is, you sort of allow the push you've received by them at one side because you've got more important things at hand and you're approaching it from a real intelligent perspective. I mean, I'm not saying I'm intelligent, but you would in not reacting emotionally, but more so logically, observational, perceptive. And so that's my little talk for today, just in regards to taking a breather, but not a breather as in leaving the situation, as that's a response in itself that they may deem, not optimal, but a positive response. But then again, it might not be. So it all depends on the situation to situation. Is if you didn't react emotionally and just, made a big non-verbal statement that it wasn't right for them to do so, and you just walked off away from them, not giving them the reaction they wanted, but if anything, allowing them to feel stupid and alone, that could actually be a very, very good way given the circumstance. Who knows? I'm signing out. Peace.